I thought I could just forget about this journal, hide it back in the trunk, climb down from the attic, go back to being a normal teenager with a dislike for rural life. However, after a while, I realized that if you just close your eyes to it, to this curse, it doesn't go away. One night, I woke up to a loud banging on the window. It wasn't a scraping, it wasn't a squeak. It was a clear and loud bang. It was like someone was pounding on the glass with their knuckles. One's knock, then a pause, then another knock. My window was on the second floor. I didn't understand how you could knock on a window at that height. I stood up, slowly walked to the window. As I looked around the courtyard, I realized that it was empty and there was no one there. The moon was casting a pale light on the courtyard. Everything was still. However, I felt that someone was looking at me. When I looked closely, I saw some prints on the glass. They were clearly not human. 3 long marks, like claw marks. They were gone in a minute, as if they'd been erased. The next day, I tried to tell my mom what had happened. She waved her hand and said, "It must have been a cat, a bird, or your imagination out of boredom." And she advised me to spend less time alone, and instead to help them with their chores. I started noticing birds, dead birds, on the porch, on the windowsill, their heads turned toward the woods. Every night I heard her voice, "You're riding on busy bones." I decided I needed to get back to the diary. I climbed into the attic and got it out again. I reread it a few more times. I tried to find some clue as to how my ancestor Natal had survived that night. Eventually, I realized he'd just disappeared. Somehow, he managed to disappear from that place. He made it so that the Harpy couldn't find him. On the last page of the diary, there were faded, almost obliterated letters. I could barely make out the words that had been written in a hurry. The Harpy is not going away. The Harpy becomes the legacy. As long as the clan lives, so will the debt. I became obsessed. I looked everywhere for information on Harpies, to libraries, to old websites, to archives about Vermont folklore and English legends. Turns out a few old records from the 1800s in Kent County, England mentioned similar occurrences. And it was always the same thing repeated. Duty of blood, a sacrifice not made to the end. When Natal's horse gave its life for him, the curse receded for a while. However, he didn't give the payment himself. He simply ran away. Now she has come to me to pay them for my ancestor. I woke up to a scraping on the roof. Something heavy was moving there step by step. Then a sound, as if claws were pulling on the shingles. Then I heard it, a scream. The same one Natal had described, female but not human, laughing and moaning. I grabbed my diary and ran downstairs. My parents were already awake. My mother was crying. My father was holding a kitchen knife in his trembling hands. All the windows in the house were open. I realized that she had entered the house. The darkness, the cold. It was as if time itself had stopped. She stood in the passage between the kitchen and the stairs. A harpy. It was higher than I thought it would be, almost to the ceiling. "You bear his name," she hissed, "and you have not given the fee." I felt my legs refuse to move. My parents stood behind me, also as if stiff. And then I realized what had to be done. I rushed to the stairs and ran to the attic. In one of the chests in the attic, there was an old harness, a saddle, my ancestor Natal's horses. They were kept as relics. Under the saddle was a silver horseshoe, the one they wrote about in an old article. A symbol of duty to those who carried you. It was about a horse. On the floor, I saw a shard of glass. I grabbed it and ran it across my palm, making a cut on my skin. Then I grabbed a horseshoe with that hand. The horseshoe was stained with my blood. "Take this," I whispered. "It is paymenta." Silence. Then I felt a gust of wind, wings flapping in the air, and everything disappeared. The harpy was gone. I haven't heard voices since. Birds don't die. No one knocks on the window. Sometimes on the darkest nights, I can still feel the shadow over the house. On full moons, I can hear someone whispering in the woods. You ride on busy bones.